A Netflix audience is not ready for this kind of stuff, right? So in sociocultural anthropology, it's always good to delve into fiction and look at different tropes, different archetypes, especially, one as prominent as Genesis. Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, should be a companion book for the Bible. We should read it in church. Not kidding. Along with John Milton's Paradise Lost. Let me explain why. So let's replace Adam with Dr. Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein sees technology, right? The forbidden fruit of technology, and he's obsessed with it. So Mary Shelley identifies the real perp. It's Dr. Frankenstein, who does not return her love and who does not want the simple things in life. He's a tech bro, and he's obsessed with this forbidden fruit. The snake is actually talking to Dr. Frankenstein, not to Eve, not to his love interest. He becomes increasingly obsessed with fooling around with nature, just like in the movie Jurassic Park. Like the movie Fight Club, Dr. Frankenstein, instead of just, falling in love with Marla Singer, who's absolutely beautiful, and she looks like a potential bride for Dr. Frankenstein's monster, even. So anyway, the narrator has to create this fictionalized alter ego. It's Tyler Durden. He's very obviously just like an idealized version of himself. Fairly recently, Chuck Palahniuk, the author of Fight Club, came out as gay. So the real twist of Fight Club didn't even happen in the movie. Go and rewatch it now that you know that the author has always been gay. And you'll see a story about men who are wanting to bond, trying to find ways to bond with each other. Marla Singer comes in between them as the narrator's conscience and puts an end to Project Mayhem. And she disrupts a story which is Adam and Steve, right? The narrator connects with Marla Singer in the end. They hold hands as the buildings go down. And is that a return to Eden? Potentially. Looking at it through the lens of Genesis. In Blade Runner, we've created machines that look so human we don't know if we should love them or not. We don't even know if the protagonist of the movie is one of them or not. There's another theory about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which links up neatly with Fight Club, that it's actually the story of a homosexual relationship. And it's actually the supposed unnaturalness of this homosexual relationship that is causing the rift, and that is basically the reason why we are kicked out of Eden. So here is Lacan's graph of desire. Basically, we are here as the subject of this graph, and what we encounter along these axes will cause different configurations of desire. So the first thing we encounter is the signified. And right across from the signified, we have the signifier. If the signified is a toaster, and we call it a toaster, we are making an assumption that the toaster is even capable of toasting. If a toaster is not plugged into the wall, if there is no electricity, is it still a toaster? So you can see the A in brackets. That is the assumptions that we make when we use a signifier like the word toaster to talk about a toaster. Is there any connection there at all between the signifier and the signified, right? One level up on the graph of desire is the self. Okay, here's the self, and right across from the self is the other. And the self contains assumptions about the other. The self also contains imperfect knowledge of the other. When everything is too obvious and too clear, and when we know a person too well, the desire is often diminished because of that, right? Maybe he thinks of the monster as a potential love interest. I'm not sure. Maybe he thinks of the monster as a potential slave, right? But maybe the monster is not smart enough to be a slave. And he would call it an it, which is a signifier. It's not even the other. So it's almost like Dr. Frankenstein is trying to hold this position, the other, for his love interest, for the woman in the plot, whose name I forget. The monster feels that the monster is entitled to that spot because he was created by Victor, and he keeps saying Victor's name. So what does Victor do? He physically puts the monster down into the depths of his castle. Treating people like objects is kind of thematic. Then he's just left with this monster who he treats as an object, as a slave. So in the book The Great Derangement by Amitav Ghosh, making the case that climate change itself is unimaginable to people. It is an unimaginable horror. During the cleanup of Fukushima, they found these old stones with old script engraved on the stones, and nobody could speak that language or read that language anymore, so they had to find people to translate this older language, this older variant of what we presently call Japanese, and it said, "Do not build here." So there had been tsunamis in the past. Did anybody listen to the advice that was carved on the stones around this nuclear plant? Of course not, right? Because the effects of the environment on people don't enter into our imagination. And Amitav Ghosh proves this through analysis of literature and poetry for, going back hundreds of years. The seismic event that began on the 5th of April 1815 on Mount Tambora, 300 kilometers to the east of Bali, was the greatest volcanic eruption in recorded history. Many parts of the world, 1816 would come to be known as the year without a summer. And that's the year where Mary Shelley decided to write Frankenstein, right? And what is Frankenstein about? It's about technological optimism, a runaway obsession, a runaway hubris with what people can create, with what men can create with technology. It's about the tech pros. Guillermo del Toro is very anti-AI because I think AI would have been perfect in Frankenstein. What embodies the uncanniness that he was after more than AI? The inappropriateness, the unnaturalness. I don't know how he would have used it, but it could have been creepy, and it could have been really good. So Karl Marx also had his own theory that resembled climate change. It was called metabolic rift. And you could say that one stage in this metabolic rift is, alienation and exploitation. But how do we become alienated? Well, connections between humans, such as this diagram from Ferdinand de Saussure, connections between humans are replaced by connections between things. Or actually, connections between humans occur between connections between things. Whereas in early anthropological theories, from Marcel Mauss, we used to live in a world where everything we had was given to us from somebody else, or most of the things that we had. And if we were given something like a talisman, it would actually be the person that gave it to us. People are becoming more thing-like, and things are also becoming more thing-like. That's what Dr. Frankenstein's love interest really has a problem with how Victor Frankenstein treats the monster, not as a person, but as an object. So Amitav Ghosh writes, poetry, on the other hand, has long had an intimate relationship with climatic events. As Jeffrey Parker points out, John Milton began to compose Paradise Lost during a winter of extreme cold and unpredictable and unforgiving changes in the climate. So, the connection between Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and John Milton's Paradise Lost is not a tenuous one. It's actually in the original book. The monster is reading Paradise Lost in one of the scenes by Mary Shelley. So Milton was blind, and he was often sick, and his first wife, his second wife, and then his daughters helped to transcribe a story that he had to tell. He just had to tell. It was like he was channeling it. He brings non-duality into the Christian faith. England was not a good place to be at the time. And he puts it all on King Charles I, who eventually is executed. The person who is trying to challenge power in the retelling of Genesis is, of course, Satan. But who is Satan? Well, he was an angel, but he was cast down. He fell. Satan is just trying to get to the surface because he feels he deserves the things that other angels have and to reign in heaven. But he's not allowed. He's not allowed to, and it's very arbitrary. It's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. How could that be? You know, heaven's supposed to be perfect. John Milton likely saw himself as Satan, trying to challenge God, because God is bringing certain aspects of hell, such as slavery and pollution and environmental ruin, up onto heaven, which is England. Satan's desire to get what he deserves as an angel or a fallen angel is exactly Dr. Frankenstein's monster's desire to get what is deserved to every man. And God is saying no, right? There's only room for one God in heaven. And so God is like Victor Frankenstein. It's really a sad story. And so what is it? Again, it's a story of how we lost Eden. I believe in Mary Shelley's original book, like, the monster actually kills Dr. Frankenstein's love interest. I think he actually strangles her, right? So, yeah. Netflix was not ready for that kind of nuance. Or Del Toro thought we weren't. I would have liked it. As a fan of the original novel, I would have loved it. So anyway, I hope I've done a good job at explaining how it relates to climate change. This anxiety resembles climate anxiety, and how in looking to tell that story and in looking to express that anxiety, Mary Shelley connected it correctly to technological optimism, to hubris, to Adam as the true perpetrator, as the original tech bro.